It sneaks up on you. You're brushing your hair before bed, or sitting in the salon chair again, flipping through the same 3 magazines, or just catching your reflection and noticing the roots. This time, you don't rush to fix it. Something pauses, and a quiet voice asks, "Do I actually need to keep doing this?" It's not a rebellion, not some grand statement. You're just tired of chasing. It's not a crisis, just a shift. That quiet decision, I don't want to fight my hair anymore. But that doesn't mean it's easy. Most women I know hit the same fork in the road. To keep coloring and feel like you're chasing a finish line that keeps moving. Or stop and wonder if you're losing the version of yourself you've always known. And honestly, it's not just about looking older. It's about not recognizing your own face anymore. And for some, what changes next goes even deeper. Not how you see yourself, but how others seem to stop seeing you. That's the shift no one really prepares you for. We'll get to that near the end. But first, let's start right here. Because when you stop dyeing your hair after 60, the changes don't happen all at once. They come in slowly, in how your skin looks, in the way makeup feels, even the clothes you reach for. Some are obvious, some are sneaky, but each one gently realigns something. And the very first shift? It's not about color at all. It's about what happens when you stop fighting your face and let it soften back into you. Most women think gray will make them look harder, sharper, older. They picture washed-out skin, deep lines, and that flat, dull tone they've spent decades dodging. So they keep reaching for color. Darker, warmer, louder, anything to bring the glow back. But here's the twist no one talks about. Letting the gray grow in? It doesn't always age you. Sometimes, it softens you. The harsh contrast starts to ease up. Your face feels less like it's being outlined in bold. Things settle, gently. And suddenly, that old shade you once swore by? It feels loud, like it's shouting over your features instead of supporting them. Women who've made the shift often tell me their skin looked calmer. Their eyes popped more. They looked less pushed. Not younger, just more at ease. And when you stop pushing so hard, something lovely creeps in. Grace, balance. That kind of quiet confidence that doesn't need a megaphone. Now, the how matters. If your gray leans cool like soft silver or steel, it can really light up your face. And if it's coming in patchy or brassy, a toner or gloss can help smooth the ride without covering it all back up. This isn't about going gray the right way. It's about letting go of the grind and choosing softness instead of strain. Letting your face show up without the performance. Next up, we're diving into the in-between stage. That awkward middle when it's not dyed, not fully grown in, and how women over 60 are moving through it without throwing in the towel. Nobody really warns you about this part. That stretch where your roots are creeping in, your old dye is fading out, and your hair? It doesn't quite belong to either camp. Not gray, not brunette, not blonde. Just in between. It's this strange patchwork of what was and what's coming. And honestly, it's uncomfortable. Not because it looks bad, but because it's unfinished. That's the part that trips most women up. Not the decision to stop coloring. The middle, when the mirror feels off, like it doesn't quite line up with who you are. You don't know how people are seeing you. Worse, you're not even sure how you're seeing yourself. But I've heard from so many women who found ways to walk through this stage with a little more grace. Softening the contrast. Instead of chopping it all off, some went with slow trims, little reshapes that gave the silver room to show up without making it a shock. Switching up the style. A low bun, a soft braid, even a headband. Something to draw the eye to shape and movement instead of that harsh grow outline. Getting help but on your terms. A good stylist can blend the line with a toner or glaze. Not to hide the gray, but to make the shift feel smoother, like a choice, not an accident. And in the middle of all that awkwardness, something unexpected shows up. A kind of quiet strength. You realize this stage? It says a lot. It says, I'm not rushing this. I'm not hiding. I'm standing in the in-between, and I'm okay with it. That's not perfection talking. That's patience. Are you still somewhere in the middle? Or have you made it through to the other side? Because in part 3, we're going even deeper. Not into color, into what shifts inside you when you stop hiding and start truly seeing yourself again. This one sneaks up on you too. By the time your roots are halfway grown out, something shifts. And no, it's not about the hair anymore. You catch your reflection in a store window, or scroll past a photo someone tagged you in. And this time, you don't flinch. You don't look away. You just look, not scanning for wrinkles, not checking if your roots are showing. You're just seeing what's there. And what's there might surprise you. Not because it's shocking, but because it's real. There's no line where the dye stops, no attempt to blend or hide. Just your face, with the hair that actually belongs to it now. And at first, it's weird. You've spent years, decades curating a version of yourself, the put-together version. Right lipstick, right highlights, the whole routine. Then one day, you catch yourself with none of that. And here's the kicker, it's not worse. It's not better. It's just you. That takes a minute to land. Some women told me it felt like bumping into someone they used to know, someone they missed. Others said it felt like a reset, not a makeover, more like clearing the slate. Either way, it changes the game. You stop asking, do I look okay? And start asking, how do I feel showing up like this? Because the biggest shift isn't what the mirror reflects. It's what it stops trying to convince you of. Ever had that moment where you saw yourself and didn't immediately want to tweak or fix? Next up, I'll talk about what happens when that shift actually sticks, and how caring for silver hair starts to feel a lot less like work. Going gray doesn't mean giving up maintenance. It just shifts the rules. A lot of women are caught off guard by how different silver hair feels. It's not always soft and floaty. Sometimes it's wiry, dry, a little wild. But that's not because it's damaged. It's just different. Gray hair doesn't hold oil the way your old color did. And it reflects light in a whole new way. The good news? You don't need a full product arsenal to handle it. Here's what women over 60 have figured out. One shampoo, one experiment at a time. Moisture is the magic. Hydrating shampoo and conditioner. That's your base. You don't need anything fancy, just sulfate-free, gentle, and softening. Purple to the rescue. A little violet-toned shampoo once a week can knock out yellow tones. Not to dye your hair, but to keep the silver bright and clean looking. Cool, not brassy. Less is way more. Too much heat? Too many products? They'll flatten silver fast. Air drying or using a round brush with low heat can actually bring back that natural shape and bounce. And here's the real shift. You stop trying to fix your hair. You let it be soft, clean, intentional. Not perfect, just yours. When your strands are healthy, you don't need 10 different serums or shine sprays. You just need to trust that simple care and your own confidence are enough. What was the moment your gray stopped feeling like something to manage and started feeling like something to own? Because next, we're stepping past the mirror and into the world around you. How going gray changes how people see you and how you start showing up in response. It's one thing to see yourself with gray hair. It's another to see how the world sees you. Some people say nothing, just glance, nod, move on. Others offer compliments you didn't expect. You look elegant. That really suits you. Wow, not everyone can pull that off. But then there are the small shifts, the undertones in conversation. The way a sales clerk calls you ma'am a little too quickly. Or how someone at a family gathering says, "You're so brave to do that." Brave? As if going gray were a risk instead of a return. This is where many women pause. Not because they regret the change, but because it redefines how they're perceived. You're no longer trying to blend in. You're not playing the still looks young game. You're visible in a different way. And that visibility can feel vulnerable, but also incredibly freeing. Because when you stop performing youth, you make room for something else. Presence, clarity, and yes, sometimes power. It may take time to recalibrate how others respond, but slowly, the mirror shifts again. And you realize you don't need the world to approve. You just need it to see you. Have you noticed how people treat you differently, for better or worse, since going gray? In the next part, we'll explore how this change doesn't just affect how you look or feel, but how you dress. Because when your hair shifts, so does your style, and that opens up something surprisingly exciting. You don't always plan for it. But once your hair goes gray, your closet starts to feel off. Colors that once worked suddenly clash. Necklines that felt balanced now feel heavy. Lipstick shades, even earrings, don't sit quite right. It's not because you're aging out of anything. It's because the tone of you has shifted. Gray hair brings a softness, a quiet coolness, that can either be dulled by old patterns or brought to life by new ones. Here's what many women discover along the way. Cool tones become allies. Soft blues, charcoals, mauves, colors that used to wash you out now brighten your face. Even a simple white blouse suddenly feels cleaner next to silver strands. Structure starts to matter. When hair isn't as styled or colored, the cut of your clothes does more talking. A clean collar, a well-shaped jacket, a line that lifts instead of slouches all feel more important. Accessories come alive. Silver jewelry that once blended in now glows. Scarves in muted tones become statements. Even minimalist pieces feel intentional instead of plain. And through all of this, something subtle shifts in your self-image. You're not dressing to match your hair dye anymore. You're dressing to match your energy, the woman you are now, not the one you used to maintain. And that alignment feels surprisingly liberating. Have you ever changed the way you dressed not because of age, but because your hair asked for something new? In the final part, we'll come full circle and talk about what gray hair truly gives back. A sense of calm, ownership, and a face that feels fully you. You don't owe youth to anyone. You don't need to explain why your hair isn't long anymore, or why the silver's coming through. You just need a cut that feels right. Something that lifts your face, your mood, and maybe even your stride. These changes, they're not about chasing the past. They're about aligning with the present. Finding the look that fits now with ease, elegance, and honesty. And when that happens, you stop asking, "Do I look older?" and start wondering, "Why did I wait this long?" So today, maybe just take a minute. Brush your hair, look in the mirror. Not to fix anything, but to notice the woman who's still evolving, still refining, still very much here. What's one shift you've made, big or small, that helped you feel more like yourself again? And if you're curious what haircuts actually lift your face shape after 60, you might love the next video we made. It's soft, practical, and full of small ideas that make a big difference.